Nigeria seeks fair trade deal as President Buhari signs Africa Free Trade Agreement. Presidential Committee releases 4,000 prisoners in 15 states. In international news, Trump says Iran better be careful as Tehran increases nuclear enrichment. And in sport, Nigeria scales through to quarterfinals, meets South Africa Wednesday.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Nigeria became the 53rd country to join the African Continental Free Trade Area on Sunday after President Muhammadu Buhari signed the agreement in Yamai, Niger Republic. The Republic of Benin also joined the group, bringing to 54 African countries that have endorsed the agreement. The only holdout now is Eritrea. President Buhari signed the agreement at the 12th Extraordinary Summit of the African Union, during which the AfCFTA's operational phase was launched. 26 African countries have deposited instruments of ratification, including Gabon, which did so during the Extraordinary Summit. The Federal Controller of Works in Lagos State, Adedamola Kuti, has confirmed the materials being imported for replacement of expansion joints on the Alaka Bridge in the state had arrived. Kuti says once the materials are cleared from the port, the contractor will immediately begin the second phase of the project. Kuti further said the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing was carrying out a review of the work done on the bridge to tackle new faults. He added that he had given a directive to the contractor, Julius Berger, to speed up action so discomfort to motorists could be reduced. The Presidential Committee on Prisons Reform and Decongestion, led by its chairman, Justice Ishaq Bello, has effected the release of 4,000 inmates in 15 states. Justice Bello, who is the Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, led members of the committee as they visited Enugu State Government House. 30 inmates were set free from Enugu prisons. Among the inmates who were released was a paralyzed 60-year-old man who had been in prison for 31 years. Inmates whose sentences were commuted to life imprisonment were released because they had met the required criteria for pardon. A father, son, and nephew who were sentenced to life imprisonment were released after the committee reviewed their case and found them worthy of pardon. They had spent 15 years in lockup. The police has today arraigned People's Democratic Party lawmaker representing Adamawa North Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Senator Elisha Abo, at the Zuba Magistrate Court in Abuja. The Commissioner of Police, Federal Capital Territory Police Command, Balas Siroma, confirmed that the lawmaker was arraigned on 1 count of assault. Siroma says apart from the evidence deduced from the video, which showed Abo repeatedly slapping his victim for intervening in an argument between him and the shop owner, the admission by the senator in a press conference he issued last week was also said to have added to the bulk of evidence against him. A senior official in the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, Makodu Haruna, has been arrested for allegedly forging the signature of former Minister Babatunde Fashola. Nigerian Immigration Service spokesperson says Haruna had forged Fashola's signature in a letter issued to one Abubakar Mustafa Bida to procure an official passport. He is now being arraigned at the Federal High Court, Abuja, before Justice Taiwo and has been charged with conspiracy, making false statement for the purpose of procuring Nigerian passports and engaging in forgery. Meanwhile, NIS Controller General had advised prospective applicants for the Nigerian passports to avoid false declarations, forgery, and use of fake documents. Nigerian bottling company manufacturers of Everwater says it has started mopping up 2 batches of Everwater manufactured at its Ashejiri plant in May, which did not meet the required standard. Company spokesperson Ekuma Eze said in a statement his company regrets the inconvenience this may have caused the consumers. He said other batches have brought a fine. Coming up, African stories. African Continental Free Trade Area officially enters into force. And later, Trump warns Iran on nuclear enrichment.
You are watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow the story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and news across Africa. The African Continental Free Trade Area has kicked off after Nigeria signed the agreement over the weekend in Yamey, Niger. This means the world's largest free trade zone has been created and brought to reality. Reporter Rama Inyang has more.
The formal launch has happened and the countdown to trading under CFTA rules 12 months from now begins. But between now and the 1st of July 2020, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Some countries, for instance, are still concerned about potential revenue losses that may come with this free trade area.
Let's take myth by myth. Tariffs. What is the CFTA going to do? The CFTA is going to take away about 6% of the tariffs. We're going to go down to zero on almost 90% of the goods over a period of 10 years. Essentially, we're hoping, and that's what we've seen in many other with many other free trade area agreements, is that you create more jobs, you create more businesses, you diversify the economy, and that gives you more growth. So you get more value-added tax, you get more personal income tax, you get more. So what you lose on the tariff side, you gain on the production and the value-added side, because you're creating more industry, you're diversifying.
By removing tariffs on about 90% of goods that are traded within the region and non-tariff barriers as well, the CFTA aims to boost the portion of intra-African trade from about 15 or 16%, where it is at the moment, to at least 60% by 2022.
It's a path towards creating an internal market. And I know it is difficult to convince people that you're serious about this. I went through this in the European Union, and I saw how difficult it was to convince the people that you are going to deliver that. But at the end of the day, I also see how, when you do that, the benefits that this brings to people. When you help very small markets that have very limited means of growing, purely trading within their borders, when you open this region to their traders, I know how much benefit this brings. So, with glass half full is my theory, glass half full and small steps forward.
So even as the world's biggest free trade area now starts to take shape, there are still negotiations left on what goods will be excluded or not from tariff liberalization lists and what sectors still have to be shielded, and of course, plenty more. Even after this meeting here in Niger, there's still plenty of work to be done by policymakers.
The United States has welcomed as an important step forward a provisional 3-year power sharing agreement between Sudan's ruling military council and a coalition of opposition and protest groups. The U.S. State Department said in a statement, Special Envoy for Sudan, Donald Booth, will return to the region soon. The agreement announced on Friday was brokered by the African Union and Ethiopia. It will be finalized today, Monday. The deal has revived hopes for a peaceful transition of power in the country that has been plagued by internal conflicts and years of economic crisis that triggered the overthrow of Omar al-Bashir in April. William Lawrence, a George Washington University professor, hailed the agreement but expressed concerns over some of the terms and details. The State Department says it looks forward to immediate resumption of access to the Internet, establishment of the new legislature, accountability for the violent suppression of peaceful protests, and progress towards free and fair elections. Up next, international news. Trump warns Iran on nuclear enrichment, and later, sport. Nigeria meets South Africa on Wednesday.
You are watching ANN.
Dear mommy, you went out that night with the baby in your tummy, but you did not come back. The baby is very fine and she eats and sleeps a lot. Everyone says that you are in a better place, but I miss you so much. I keep asking them, where is the better place? But nobody answers me. Auntie Kemi just hugs me and says, go and play. Mommy, I miss you. Please, when are you coming home?
I still do miss you, Mom. And in honor of your memory, I'm a doctor today working with the MTN Foundation to save mothers and children every day.
Ending mother and child mortality in Nigeria is dear to us. We will keep strengthening this most important bond just for you.
Welcome back. This is CNN News, now to world events. U.S. President Donald Trump has warned Iran to better be careful after Tehran said on Sunday it was boosting uranium enrichment beyond the limit set in the 2015 nuclear deal. It did not specify to reporters any specific reactions his administration was considering, but reiterated the position that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Britain has urged Iran to immediately stop and reverse all actions that are inconsistent with the agreement under which it accepted restrictions on its nuclear program in exchange for relief from economic sanctions. France said Iran's move was a violation of the international pact, and Trump pulled the United States out of the nuclear deal last year and reimposed sanctions on Iran, which have severely crippled the Iranian economy. Russia and China have also objected to Iran's breaching the deal. Two remote California desert communities, Ridgecrest and neighboring Trona, were hit hard last week by the magnitude 7.1 quake that rocked the Mojave desert towns Friday. A day earlier, a magnitude 6.4 temblor hit the same part of the desert. They have been followed by thousands of smaller aftershocks. The area, about 240 kilometers northeast of Los Angeles, is in recovery mode after the quakes crumbled buildings, ignited fires, and cut power to thousands of homes and businesses. California Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency for the area and warned local governments to strengthen alert systems and building codes. The Democratic governor estimated the damage at more than $100 million. He said U.S. President Donald Trump has called him to offer federal reconstruction support. And following an arrangement by the Syrian government, the first batch of Kosovo residents returned to their hometown on Sunday, ending their 7-year stint in exile. Kosovo is a border area in Homs, which has been regarded as an important military outpost. In 2013, Syrian government forces regained control of Kosovo after fierce battles with rebels. It has been 7 years since some Kosovo residents fled from their hometown, waving their national flag. Hundreds of households got on the buses heading to Kosovo. The return of fleeing Kosovo residents brought the town to full vigor.
شعوري انه انا وطلعنا من القصير كان عمري 7 سنين وهلا راجع بيتنا ما بعرف شيء هنيك يعني خالص بس متذكر هيك على الحاره وما حاره شوي يعني مكيفين وما عاطين فرحتنا لحد خالص يعني ولد ابن 18 ابن 8 سنين طلع من بيته وهلا راجع صار شاب وهلا راجع.
قامت المؤسسات المعنيه امنيا بمسح المنطقه من الالغام والعبوات الناسفه وتامين ظرف امن للاهالي للعوده. بدأنا اليوم بعودة الدفعة الأولى من الأهالي وسوف تعمل الجهات المختصة بالشؤون الاجتماعية والخدمات الفنية بتمكين هذه العائلات من البقاء في المدينة من خلال توفير
Governor of Homs, Tala Al-Baria, says the government has restored 70% of the infrastructure in the town. In the next months, local governments will build 3 schools to meet the education demand. The return of the first batch of Kosovo residents not only means an improved situation, but also that the Syrian government has the ability to control the complex situation in the eastern border area of the country. With the post-war construction moving ahead, more and more Kosovo residents are expected to return in the near future to rebuild their hometown. And tens of thousands of Hong Kong residents again marched on the streets on Sunday to protest against the law that would allow people to be extradited to China, mainland China, for trial where courts are controlled by the Communist Party. The protest earlier in the day on Kowloon had been mainly peaceful. Organizers said more than 200,000 demonstrators took part, and police said only 56,000 did. The protesters targeted the West Kowloon Express rail station that connects Hong Kong with mainland China. The demonstrators said they want to talk directly to mainland Chinese visitors to inform them about the controversial proposed law. There has been very little media coverage in the mainland about the month-long demonstrations in Hong Kong. The Chinese government's Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office described the protesters' action last week as a direct attack on the one country, two systems principle that allows Hong Kong freedom as a special territory in the Communist Party-ruled state. When we return, sport. Nigeria meets South Africa on Wednesday. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sports. Nigeria will take on South Africa in the quarterfinals of this year's Africa Cup of Nations. The Super Eagles eliminated defending champions Cameroon in their round of 16 clash on Saturday. Bafana shocked host Egypt later in the day, and Nigeria versus South Africa will be played on Wednesday in Cairo. Meanwhile, Egypt have sacked head coach Havu Hagiri following their shock elimination in the round of 16 at the Africa Cup of Nations. Afterwards, Egyptian Football Association President Hani Abdurrida announced his resignation and confirmed the departure of the entire technical and administrative staff. And that is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit the website annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a good evening.